Hey, welcome to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Chrismo, and this show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. If you're thinking about starting or enhancing your real estate career, give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106, or visit us online at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Today, as well as every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, this is where we focus on the enhancing your real estate career aspect of this, enhancing your real estate business, growing this, and going just beyond what the need to know information is to really kind of maximize and work to your fullest potential and grow to your fullest potential in the real estate space. Because really in real estate, the sky is the limit, but it seems a lot easier to get up to the sky when you look at it. You're like, oh, that doesn't look too far away. And you get up in a plane 40,000 feet in the air, 38,000 feet in the air, and you're still could look up and say, oh yeah, look, there's still more sky up above. So it's all about kind of bringing yourself higher and higher to that next level. And that's what we're focused on today, getting this to a higher level. And today we're focusing on marketing your listings. So the different ways you could market your real estate to really, and first, before we even get into this, let's talk about the why. So the why we need to market our real estate listings. Why would you want to market this listing? Well, the plain, easy, straightforward answer is going to be to help to get the property sold. That should be enough reason alone to market the property. Because, I mean, if you could double your commission just by doing a little bit of marketing, you probably spend less in marketing than you're going to end up with double on the commission. But that's just at face value. It's initial kind of gain that you get from marketing your real estate listings. Is yes, you're more likely to sell it, and yes, you could double your commission. But that's usually where most agents stop thinking about this. Where they'll say, okay, I've got this, I double-ended it, boom, way to go. So first and foremost, because I know you got a lot of you guys that are watching this show here, you're brand new to real estate, or you're even thinking about getting into real estate. You don't even have a real estate license yet, but maybe you've been thinking about doing that, and you're wondering, okay, well, how do I get listings? And especially if you already have your real estate license and you haven't got a listing yet, you understand this a little bit more. The listings don't just pop up out of thin air. Yeah, maybe you have a friend or a family member that's like, oh yeah, I need to sell my house, and you have a listing there. And if you have something like that, that's really something that kind of everyone you know can help push you forward. That's really a key thing right there, if you convince them to list the property with you. Now, let's take that out of the equation, because let's say you go sell that one property. If you don't implement these strategies we're going to be talking about, you're not going to be able to get more listings. Because where do you get listings? From other listings. So you got to remember, whenever you have a listing, whenever you have any sort of listing, yes, you want to find a buyer, but what else do you want? What more do you want? You want other listings. You have an opportunity now to show everyone else, hey, look, I'm busy. I'm a professional. I really can sell a house. I really can help you buy a house, because look, this house I have for sale. These people trusted me to help them sell their house. You should too. That's the impression that you're giving when you have listings. So what you want to do is you want to carry an inventory of listings. You go into any sort of store, and this is the whole reason why retail stores exist. And then those concept stores, we'll talk about this in a second, where they don't have any actual product in the store. They're not much of a store. The whole reason you go into a store is to get something right now, get it today because it's in stock there, we could pick it up. Otherwise, you just order it online where it's always in stock. Well, if people coming to you, you got to think of yourself, your real estate business, your real estate career as a store. When you think of that as a store, what's your inventory? Yes, you are selling your services to them, but you go anywhere. You go to any store and there's at least some level of service. I mean, even if you're at Target or Walmart or these stores that are notorious for not having any customer service, even if they're using the automated checkout system, they're serving you still. So yes, you are serving, but that goes, every business has customer service, and I don't care what type of business it is. Your product, however, is the houses that you have, your listings that you carry. That's your inventory. And if you don't have any houses in stock, there's a huge misconception with the public where they think that the only houses you could sell them are your listings. And if you don't have any listings, they're like, well, why would I go talk to them? He doesn't have any listings. How is he going to sell me a house when he doesn't have any houses to sell? They don't know that you have access to all the properties. Very rarely are you going to run into a buyer that just knows, oh, yeah, I want to see this property. I say very rarely. It does happen more often than not, but the initial perception is, oh, this, and even if they do know that you can get them into any property, if you don't have any sort of listings, they're like, oh, well, is this person really busy? Do they really know what they're doing? Why won't anybody else trust them with their business? So you got to get listings. You got to beef up your listing count. You got to beef up your inventory and carry these listings to help get you even more listings. That's such a crucial aspect that a lot of agents miss out on. Yes, they market the listing to some degree, even if they're just putting it in the MLS. That is a very basic, very required form of marketing, so you're not really setting yourself out that way. And it'll get the property sold, but the more you do over and above that is the more chance that, number one, you're going to double your commission. So you'll have instant gratification right there to help cover these marketing costs if you could double your commission. If you're able to double your commission, that could pay for a lot of marketing. And now when you're marketing, not only are you going to more likely double the property, you're investing in your future, because everyone that you're marketing to, you're saying, hey, look, I'm somebody you should use because I have listings, I have product, I have inventory. Contact me to find out about my inventory. And guess what? I can't just sell you these houses. I could sell you any house. I could help you with any property, but you got to get them to call you up first. You got to get them to email you. You got to get them to fill out your lead form or whatever it is that you're doing to capture new clients. You got to get them, you got to kind of have the carrot that you could kind of show them, the bait, really, they call it, the bait. You got, if you're going fishing, you got to put something on the hook in order to catch them. If you just have a hook dangling out there, they're like, oh, why would I bite on this piece of metal? So you got to have some product to capture their attention, because people aren't going to get excited about the services you offer them, but people will get excited about houses. And now, especially if you have a house that's a gorgeous house, that's where you really want to sell that stuff, because that makes you look more like a luxury agent. Now you could be working into these higher tiers of marketing, these higher tiers of property levels when you're getting into more luxury real estate and whatnot. But at the very least, even if it's a crappy property, maybe it's an investment property that just needs a complete rehab, again, you're marketing it, and you don't want to say, oh, this is a terrible property. I mean, that's pretty common sense. You say it's an investment opportunity, which it is. And now, when you're marketing, you want to tailor your marketing efforts for that type of property to the particular audience. You probably don't want to market that to the general retail public. If you have some $50,000 fix and flip type of property, you probably don't want to market that to somebody who's looking for a single family home for their family. There are a certain type of buyer that is looking for that type of home, but most buyers, they're probably going to be a little bit higher up in the price range. And especially if you do want to, because with investors, yes, they do usually deal in smaller prices when you're dealing with more investment properties, but there's a lot more volume there, so they're good to have as clients. When you're dealing in retail, with people that want a home for their own, that's where it's going to take a lot more time and effort. It's going to be a lot more time and effort to work with the retail side than it would be with an investor side. But the investors, they're a lot quicker and they'll have a lot more transactions. So it's okay that they're a little bit lower dollar value sometimes. The retail side, it's a lot more time, especially working with a buyer. You're looking at on average about 24 hours, according to the National Association of Realtors, of your time, not 24 hours later, not next day and it's sold. No, 24 hours of your time that you're investing with them. And they're only buying homes every 5 to 7 years. So you factor that in, and yeah, you definitely want to try to target that little higher pricing. Now, it's harder and harder to reach up into higher and higher pricing levels, but it could definitely be worth it. So, like I said, the whole point of getting listings, or the whole way to get listings basically, is have other listings to show, hey, look, I have other houses for sale, because that's how you're going to pique your interest. I don't care if you're sending out postcards, if you're sending out emails, if you're sending out some sort of advertisement, anything digital advertising that you may be doing, anything along those lines. You're probably going to have your best results with product. You're probably going to capture the most attention, and it really takes a minimal amount of effort once you have the listing. and then you could repurpose that and reuse it. Yes, there's all kinds of stuff you can do online with things you need to know before selling, but people are starting to get wise to stuff like that when they see things like that. It's like, oh, what kind of scam is this? But when you have a property advertised for sale, no one's going to think that's a scam. No one's going to think that's some way just for you to kind of collect money from them. They think that you're informing them. That's their initial kind of perception. Oh, look at this house for sale. They must want to sell me this house. No, I really don't care if I sell you that house. I want to sell you a house. It doesn't have to be that one, but that's how you kind of lure them in, is with marketing these properties. And now, if you're just starting out, because this is kind of a whole chicken or the egg one. You got to have one to have the other, really. So how do you get more listings when you don't even have one listing to begin with to market out? And yes, you could maybe invest in some sort of strategy of going through and trying to market things you need to know. And that'll maybe work. I mean, there's a lot of agents that have had a lot of success with those. I'm not the biggest fan of them, just because, again, it comes off a little salesy at that point there. And a lot of people have a general aversion to that. What I would recommend is borrowing a listing. Finding somebody in your office that has some listings, somebody that's an approachable person, man, woman, doesn't matter, somebody that's approachable, somebody you could come to and say, hey, look, I'm new to real estate. I'd really appreciate it if I could market some of your listings. I'm not going to charge you anything to do this. I just really want to get my name out there. Do you mind if I market some of your listings? And you do something like that, and yes, this is going to be where you're having to spend. You're not going to get that return on your investment as quickly as you would if you're marketing your own listing. Because now, this is ultimately why you want to do this with your own listings. When this is your own listings, you're multiplying your chances that you're going to double in the sale. So you're going to be making a lot more money if you're selling your own listing. So there's that potential. That doesn't always happen still, because a lot of times it'll still be sold by a cooperating brokerage. But you still have that potential that you're investing in. Now, don't get me wrong, you still want to do this. So like I said, find another agent, somebody that's approachable, somebody you can go to and say, hey, look, I want to market some listings. I don't have any listings myself yet, and I want you to use your listings. You got a great, and you want to go into this really, you want to say, yeah, oh my God, that's such a beautiful listing. How do you do that? Maybe give them a little flattery, and they'll start talking about how great they are and how they've done everything it is that they've done, and so on and so forth. But you want to use that opportunity where you kind of appreciate what they've done and what they've been able to do, and listings they've been able to attain, and take those listings and market them and push them out, and work a particular farm area, work a particular client base to try to turn them into more sellers. And it's going to be good for them because you're helping them get the property sold. It's not just going to look good for you, it's going to look good for them with their client, because they'll probably see some of this marketing that's going out there, and they'll be like, oh wow, look at all the things that they're doing to market my property. I definitely have to use them in the future. So when we come back after the next break, we're going to talk about a little bit more specific things that you could actually do, some tactile things that you could actually go out there this weekend, market some of your listings. So stick with us. You're watching State of Real Estate.
When you look back on your real estate career, you'll remember the moment you decided to begin this journey. The moment when you finally decided it was time for change. The moment when you decided it was time to take charge. The moment that changed the direction of your life forever. Now is that moment.
Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. I'm John Chrismo, and every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, we come to help you grow, jumpstart, enhance your real estate business. Today, we're talking about marketing listings. Now, before we went on that first break, we were kind of covering the why you need to be marketing your listings, what it is that why we're doing this in the first place, because we're taking a listing and we're using that listing to multiply it. It's like any sort of investment. You're putting money somewhere to try to multiply that money. That's essentially what you're doing with an investment, and that's exactly what this is when you're taking on a listing. You're not only investing your time in this transaction, because you don't get paid until the property sells, but you're also investing money in this when you're advertising. And you definitely want to advertise that. When you get one of these listings, you've got a golden ticket, especially, now I don't care if you've been in real estate for a while or if you're brand new to real estate, but when you're not carrying listing inventory, I don't care if it's whether it's due to the seasons or if it's whether you just started and this is the first listing you got, you've got a golden ticket. You've got a golden ticket because you could take that. And now this is where a lot of agents go wrong, and why a lot of agents aren't able to build the recurring business and the pipeline of deals is because they'll take a listing and they'll focus a lot on that listing, but they're not so much on focusing on bringing in additional streams at that time, bringing in additional listings. So they'll get that listing, they'll hit their commission, and then they're in survival mode until they get that next listing. So they get the listing. They're like, oh, great, I got a listing. I got to get this sold so I can get commission. They get commission. They're like, oh, great, I got commission now. And they're like, okay, now I got to go get some more commission. And, maybe you're even living high on the hog when you first get that commission. And you're maybe taking a week off. You're like, oh, I could take some time off. I just got paid, got a big commission check. But then that commission check starts to kind of dwindle away. And now you're in really survival mode, ramen noodle mode, which that's not what real estate is meant to be about. I mean, yeah, if you're just kind of hacking away, just like taking one hack in one sale and then just be like, oh yeah, I got a sale, and like going out and partying and celebrating, you're not reinvesting in your business. That's going to be a problem, because you're going to look like this. You're going to have up months and a down month and an up month and a down month and an up month and a down month, and you're going to be all over the place. And you're going to be burnt out because you're like, oh man, I just can't get this right. I just can't keep getting listings. I got to be able to get one after another. Listen, it's not a perfect world. You're not going to be able to line up one, then another, then another, then another, then another. You have to have multiple listings. So you got to kind of be a little bit of a juggler here. Kind of a little bit of a juggler, a little bit of an octopus, because you got to have multiple properties that you could advertise, that you could market, that you could list. And that's really going to multiply your efforts even more so. If you take just one listing and use that to get more listings, you use those same strategies on every other listing you're doing, you're going to be multiplying like this. You're going to have listings all over the place. All of a sudden, you're going to be dominating your market if you continue to employ these strategies and tactics. Now, a lot of agents, too, they understand this. They use, oh, yeah, definitely. I use my listing to try to get other listings, but they'll only try to get one other listing. And that's good, but I mean, how good do you want to be? Do you want to be a 2-listing realtor, or do you want to be a 20-listing realtor? Do you want to carry an inventory of 20 properties at any given point in time? Because you got a lot more income potential when you're carrying 20 properties consistently. And then when you start to dip down, maybe you get down to 15 properties, and you're like, whoa, what's going down here? Why do we only have 15 listings? We got to get that number up. And you're like, really? That's the problem? You only have 15 listings? Yes, that's a problem when you have this consistent business that you're trying to do. So it's not a problem of, oh, I have no listings. It's a problem of, oh, I only have 15 listings. Oh, I only have 20 listings. Oh, I only have 50 listings. If you're really being a mega superstar team out there and really just piling on as many of these listings as you can. And what's great about this is, when you are bringing in multiple listings like this, you could really get down and hammer out your strategy, your process of going from one step to another step to another step to another step. You could really have that process down, and it makes it that much easier. If you're just doing one at a time, one deal here, then another deal, taking some time off, doing another deal, and you're not carrying an inventory of product, you're never going to make it to greatness at that level. You might be able to get by. And if you're happy with it, that's fine. You don't need to be watching this episode there. Just keep going and doing your one listing at a time. But if you want to make it to greatness, if you want to be able to employ other people, to help other people be successful in real estate and build a team. We talked about building a team last week, but really this episode is really a fundamental prerequisite to that, because in order to build a team, you have to have product. You have to have inventory to sell, and that's what your listings are. They're the inventory that you're carrying. When a buyer is interested in you, when they go on your website, because you should definitely have a website set up at some point. It's maybe not the first thing you need to do when you get your real estate license, but at some point you do want to invest in a website. And you notice how I say invest in a website and not invest your time. I do not recommend investing your time into building a website, because number one, unless you're coming from some sort of coding and development background and you really got this down at a high level, and even at that point, you're still not going to be as good as these companies that are out there that are charging a couple $100 a month to manage these websites. I don't recommend investing your time in this. Invest some money in it until you have the ability to invest that couple $100 a month. Get out there and prospect and grind it out and get enough listings to get enough commissions to eventually pay for this recurring debt of this website, because that's definitely something you want. But going back to marketing your listings here, you want to have the featured listings that you have right on your home page, and don't just call them featured listings. Call them our listings if you're a team, or if you're just going to be just the one man show, the one woman show. Just put my listings. Don't put featured listings, because I see that so much on websites. And they're like, okay, yeah, you're featuring this property. Really, I could feature any property that I think is nice. I could put, oh, let's feature this one. And that doesn't say a whole lot to a client looking at this, but when they see my listings, our listings, exclusive listings, or something along those lines that shows that you have ownership, that you're the one responsible for these listings, they see that and they're like, okay, wow, okay, yeah, look at all the listings this person has. You know what, honey, we've been thinking about selling our house, so why don't we find out why all these other people have chosen John, why all these other people have chosen the John team, or whatever it is that you're calling yourself. But with those that particular part of your website, and you really want to market this, when you have listings, you don't want to keep that a secret. So many agents just rely on the MLS to sell the property. And that's fine, because it is a tried and true system, but number one, you're probably not going to double end the commission. I can almost guarantee you that. And number two, you're really not doing much else to try to gain future listings. So you really got to invest in the marketing side of this to put your listings out there to the general public. Now, when you're doing this marketing, and like I said, going back to what type of property is you're dealing with, whether you're dealing with an investment property or whether you're dealing with a retail property for a family, or maybe you're dealing with a high-rise condo, you have to kind of identify your target market behind this. You want to identify who it is that would be interested in this property. And you want to try to tailor your marketing efforts towards that. If you're dealing with an investment property, you're probably not going to advertise it as a great place to live. You're probably going to advertise it as great investment. Only makes sense, right? If you're advertising a high-rise condo, maybe you kind of figure out the people that would like that type of condo. I mean, if we're talking about if it's a very high-end luxury property, you're going to have to kind of find luxury, high, well-off individuals to market to. And there's a lot of tools for doing this. If you're just doing old-fashioned direct mail, it really is just a matter of looking at the demographics of the particular neighborhood. Maybe you look over at the neighborhood and what the income levels are of that neighborhood, and you see an income level that's too low. If you have a luxury listing, don't be marketing it to a low-income neighborhood. That's really not going to help you out. Maybe you also look at the rental capacity in the neighborhood, because if you're marketing to a bunch of renters, you maybe want to throw something along the lines of, or especially if you're mailing to an apartment complex or anything like that, you want to do something along the lines of converting them from renters to owners. Show them some of the benefits of ownership. Show them the interest deduction. Show them the property tax deduction. So all these little objections that they have to why they don't want to own a property, you can say, hey, look, I know you're going to have to pay mortgage interest, which you're not used to right now, but that's tax deductible. So it's going to help bring down your income taxes. I know you don't want to pay property taxes, but that's tax deductible. That's going to bring down your income taxes. So you want to tailor your pitch, tailor your advertising, your copy that you have going to these people based on who they are. And that's one of the big problems that you see with a lot of the old-fashioned type of marketing. Like when you're advertising in the newspaper, I don't know if anyone still reads the newspaper. My mom still reads the newspaper, but she's the only person I know that reads the newspaper. But I don't even think my grandma reads the newspaper anymore. But when you're advertising in the newspaper, you're just advertising to everybody. There's no segmentation. You want to kind of be able to pick and choose. And that's what's great about a lot of the digital advertising now. Like Facebook is such an immensely powerful advertising platform, because you could go in there, you could select all these demographics, you could put income levels, you could put occupation, you could put where they live, you could put in an address and draw out a little radius of all the people that you want to market and advertise to. So that's a huge, very powerful tool that more realtors really should be utilizing to help grow their business, because they could really carve out who it is that they're marketing to and then tailor their ad campaign to that group of people. And I know this sounds like a lot of things it is that you have to do, but hey, this is what you have to do if you really want to try to grow your business. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of work on you to begin with. It's going to be a lot of work on you, and you got to keep doing all that work yourself until you can afford to bring other people into your team that maybe specialize in this one certain aspect to free you up to do other things and keep breaking out little parts of this stuff further and further. And that goes back to this team building one we were talking about last week, that you want to figure out all these things that maybe you're spending too much time doing, where you're working more in the business rather than on the business, and then you can be able to step back and put somebody in the business so you could go back to working on the business. So that kind of goes back to all this team building concept that we're talking about right now. Yeah, I see the comments coming in from you guys here. Vince Kern, yeah, easy. I'm reading the paper now in the ad section. Yeah, so the newspaper is definitely still a good place to advertise. It's definitely still a great place to advertise in the newspaper, but you have to remember you're marketing to well, actually, no, let's think back on this. And let's think of who's reading the newspaper. Because there's definitely a certain type of person that's reading the newspaper. Generally, there's somebody who likes to try to be a little bit more affluent than other people may be. They want to keep abreast on matters that are going on. So I don't know, maybe you're doing an advertising campaign in the newspaper. Let's think of what it's called, the newspaper. You're advertising news. You should be advertising news in the newspaper. So that when you could still advertise in the newspaper. Don't get me wrong, that's still a great place to advertise, but you have to do it correctly. If you're advertising in there, you want to make what you're advertising appear as news. I bet you've been flipping through the newspaper before, and you've seen certain things in there where you see, and it's almost all ads, so it's kind of hard to decipher. You're really trying to skip past a lot of the ads and just look for the particular content that's in there, or vice versa. There could be people that are just buying the newspaper for the coupons, for the ads, and for all that are in there. But when you're advertising something, you want to make it very much geared toward it being news. Just listed. New loan program. New government-sponsored loan program, or new updates to this loan program, or any type of news like that you could put in there and then kind of tailor it into an advertisement. I'm sure you've seen something like this, and maybe, I know I've seen it before, where I'm reading through something and I don't even realize it's an advertisement until I start to see like the call to action at the bottom. I'm reading through it and it says, oh, call today. I'm like, wait a minute, call today? They don't say that in the editorials. So it's still a great place, but remember, wherever there's no one size fits all for any type of advertising, and the more segmented you could get, the better return you're going to see on this. Because again, the newspaper is great, but you could probably get a better return on your investment with some other types of advertising. But that's not saying don't do it. That's not saying don't advertise on the radio. That's not saying don't advertise on TV, these more kind of old-fashioned types of advertising mediums. There's still millions of dollars spent every single day on advertising on radio and TV because it works. It's not as segmented, but you're reaching such a massive audience, and when people see you on TV, they're like, whoa. So that's a whole kind of like another like next level, and it's probably not the best way, especially when you're first starting out with your advertising. That's where you want to try to harness some of this digital stuff, because you can get in there very low cost and very highly specific, and then as you grow your target of who you're trying to market to, when you're trying to market to everyone, that's where you want to be on TV. When you're trying to market to everyone, that's where you need to be on TV. That's where you want to be on the radio. But if you're not ready to market to everyone yet, and this goes back to the farm area stuff that we talked about before, you need to hit somebody 7 to 9 times with your advertising before they start to take note of even who you are. Not even necessarily remembering, but just kind of recognizing you when they see your name. They might not even be able to recall your name or recall your brand or recall your image or picture, whatever it is that you're marketing to them. But when they see it, they'll recognize it. And that takes 7 to 9 impressions, 7 to 9 times of seeing that for that to even occur. So stick with us. We'll be right back after this short commercial break. I'm John Chrismo. You're watching State of Real Estate.
Need help preparing for your exam? We've got you covered. Join us for a structured weekend review class where we'll cover the topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams. Class sizes are limited, so reserve your seat now by calling 813-928-0106 or registering online at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Have you been thinking about starting a real estate career but are struggling to find the time to go back to school? Allow us to introduce our revolutionary online course platform. At the Tampa School of Real Estate, we have used our years of education experience and student feedback to bring you the finest and best online course. Visit tampaschoolofrealestate.com. That's tampaschoolofrealestate.com, or call us at 813-928-0106. That's 813-928-0106 to learn more and register for our online course today. After the show, be sure to visit tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Again, that's tampaschoolofrealestate.com, where you'll find all the information you need to start your career in real estate. Also, be sure to check out our Success Center, where you'll find helpful tips for building a successful real estate career.
Hey, if you liked the show today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and post your comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, welcome back to State of real estate. While we're on the break, before we even get into that, every Friday, 12 noon Eastern time, we come to you to help you grow, mastermind, and develop your real estate business. But yeah, I'm reading through these comments here on the break, and Vince, I love it. So Vince Curtin, he said he was reading the newspaper right now. I'm like, okay, wow, there's somebody on Facebook reading the newspaper. I'm like, okay, that's maybe a different image than I had in mind, which kind of is a whole nother story about making sure you're not trusting your assumptions about certain things. You want to go and research this stuff and find out where you may be wrong, because that's going to help tailor your marketing better as well. But Vince is here, and he said the reason why, he followed up the comment, why he's in the newspaper is he's looking for sale by owners, and I love it, man. He's looking in the newspaper trying to find for sale by owners, and this is a huge market to get listings initially as well. So if you're trying to obtain a listing, for sale by owners are a great place to do that as well. But hey, Vince, now look, so try to apply some of these concepts that we're talking about in here today about marketing your listing, because when you go out there on that for sale by owner appointment, and I don't care even if marketing isn't one of your strong suits, if you could use a couple of these words here and just say, I mean, really marketing's not that difficult. Anyone can put an ad in the newspaper. The for sale by owners are able to figure out an ad in the newspaper. But what you need to do, and this will really help you sell yourself on them, not only your professional expertise and knowledge, because it's very hard to kind of nail that through to them of how much it takes to actually sell a house. They thought they could do it themselves. That's why they're trying to do it themselves. And if you're going more on about, because there's really a couple different strategies you could take trying to convert a for sale by owner into a seller. But when you're going to a for sale by owner, one of the ways is to say, hey, look, this is a complicated process. I don't want you to end up losing money. I know it's going to cost money for me, but I can help you get more money for your sale price because I'm better at marketing. We'll talk about the other side of this in a second. But also, you don't want to lose money for doing something you shouldn't have done, or forgetting to do a certain document and end up getting sued over it and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's very dangerous, really, to sell a property on your own as a for sale by owner. Definitely can be done, but you're definitely opening yourself up for a lot of liability when you're not being professionally advised. So that's one way to go about it for sale by owners. Another way, and I think this is one that's going to hit a little bit more at home to them, because if you're telling them, oh, you know, it's a complicated process, they almost feel like you're demeaning them. If you're telling them, yeah, it's a complicated process, you wouldn't be able to figure it out, they're like, what are you talking about, man? I put the ad in the paper, I could sell my house. And they'll get defensive on you. Or they think what you're telling them about how difficult it is to sell the property, because people know what a for sale by owner is. People see for sale by owners all the time. And when you go about marketing in that, of trying to obtain the listing and saying, hey, look, you need a professional because you can't do it alone. You're like, hey, look, you're not good enough. You need me to help you because you don't know what you're doing here. So that's one way to go about it. But like I said, it's almost like an insulting way to go about it with a client. It's kind of hard to earn a client's trust when you're basically insulting them about their intelligence as it relates to property transfer, but they just take it as an insult to their intelligence, or you're just trying to use scare tactics to get them to sell the property. So what I would recommend with this with for sale by owners, and Vince, I hope you try this on one of your appointments when you go out there with them and let me know how this works. Go out there and try to market what you could do to market their property. Because that's one of the big levels of professional expertise with this. And it could just be, it's not necessarily that they don't know how to do it. Because again, we don't want to insult their intelligence, but we might have more cost-effective ways to do it. So more cost-effective ways. And what you could do, ultimately, if you could prove that you could sell their house for more, and it's gonna cover that extra cost, because usually, and there's National Association of Realtors statistics you could look up of how much more a property could actually sell for. And you definitely want to utilize that, but you want to say why. And that goes back to the marketing. That you have professional expertise in marketing, that you're a professional expert in marketing, that you'll have their property marketed on Facebook, on Craigslist, in the newspaper, on YouTube. You'll make a video of the property, and all these different ways you have to market the property, doing open houses. This is a huge benefit to the client. What we're trying to do here is make a win-win-win situation. A win-win-win situation. So our client is winning because they're able to sell their property for higher. They might even end up making more money selling it through a professional than they would selling it on their own, even after they pay the commission. So that's the win for the client. The win for you is, number one, you're getting the listing. That's your first win. And then number two, all this marketing that you're doing, it's helping you generate further listings. And now with this, the for sale by owner thing, and it's a great way to kind of pick up some leads and pick up some properties that you could list. But it is difficult. Because now you're trying to convince somebody who didn't want to use a realtor in the first place. They thought they could do it alone, and you're trying to convince them that they can't do it alone. Which that's tough. It's great. It's definitely harder to do. It definitely can still be done. And I'm not going to try to discourage anyone from doing it because it's a huge market that you should definitely be tapping into. But now when you have that listing, you want to try to market to people who are thinking about selling that maybe already think they want to, or they already know they don't want to do it for sale by owner. Because now it's not even trying to convince them that you have to use an agent. It's convincing them that they should just use you over any other agents. And when you have listings and when you have a way to show them that other people have trusted you, when you have past client testimonials and so on and so forth, this really kind of seals the deal for them. Like, okay, yeah, these people trusted you, so I guess I should too. But that all comes down to, again, having the inventory, having the product for this. So when you get that listing, so let's say you go out there on one of these for sale by owner appointments, you pick up one of these listings, and you're going to go through and give them the pitch, tell them all the things you're going to do to market the property. So what are some things that you could tell them you're going to do to market the property? So one of the best ways, and now this definitely requires more knowledge, it's definitely a little bit more knowledge heavy than some of these other ways to market, is the digital marketing strategy. And that knowledge alone is really what sets real estate professionals apart from the general public. That's the reason why people pay us a commission to sell their property, is because we have the knowledge to help them sell the property. So that's why they're willing to exchange money for that advice and that knowledge in this transfer process. Digital marketing, yes, it's another area of knowledge and expertise, but hey, that's the whole basis the real estate industry is founded on, is knowledge and expertise. So yeah, you definitely want to bone up on some of this stuff here. You spend enough money, you'll start getting Facebook calling you and being there to help guide you through this. Yes, people from Facebook. You didn't think you could talk to people from Facebook. I talk to people from Facebook all the time. They're helping me a lot with ad strategies and teaching me things that I didn't know and new ways to kind of target different types of people and all this stuff like that. And you spend enough money with this digital advertising, whether it's Facebook, you do that with Twitter. I think Snapchat's got advertising now, Instagram, because they're owned by Facebook, all these social media channels. Google is another great way to advertise, but Google's a little bit harder to kind of market listings like this. And maybe if you're doing display ads or something along those lines. And you can see here that this is really just the tip of the iceberg as it relates to digital marketing. But what's great about digital marketing, why I recommend it as a starting point, is because you could highly target who it is that you want to advertise to. I believe they actually even have a category in there for people likely to sell their home. How great would it be if you could automatically weed out the people who aren't interested in selling their home? Facebook's got the way of doing it. They've got the intelligence. They're there big brothering everybody that's got a Facebook account and keeping track of what it is they're doing, what websites they're going on. Facebook even tracks a lot of the websites that you go on through these little pixel things they have and all kinds of stuff like that. So they get a lot of knowledge on their users, and they can take that knowledge and sell it to marketers. Yeah, there's a whole discussion on whether or not it is generally accepted that that's ethical. Some people don't like it, but whatever. We don't care about those people. We care about making money. And in order to make more money, we have to effectively spend with our advertising. So you could target all different types of group of people. People that are likely to sell, that's definitely one you want to include in there. You could target renters. Maybe if you have some sort of rent-specific message of trying to get people from renters into buyers, you could target them specifically. You could target income levels. If you're dealing with a luxury property, if you got a $500,000 home that you have listed, you probably don't want to advertise that to people making $25,000 a year. They're probably not going to be able to be approved for the financing for a $500,000 property. So you go in there, you could select the demographic of how much money it is that you want to advertise to, what their net worth is, what their income levels is. And now these are estimations to a certain extent with it there. But anything we could do to try to filter out some of these people that are unlikely to respond to our advertisement is going to make our money spent much better. So it's very effective, especially when you're first starting out and you have limited funds to advertise, because you get a lot higher return on your investment with something like that. But as you start to spend more, you'll want to kind of extrapolate further and further out. Like I said, another way to advertise digitally is through Google, through Bing. I mean, if you want to advertise with that, Google's pretty much the #1 search engine, but there's definitely some opportunity with the other searches as well. But now with this, you have to think about what they're doing. They're searching for particular types of property, and it gets really competitive with Google advertising as well. So that's another avenue you could look at and try to implement that in your business. For listings, I don't really see much with that I would say. when you have the listing and you're marketing your listing, you definitely want to showcase the property, especially if it's a nice property. Now, like I said, if you're working with investors and you're working with like a fix and flip property, you don't have to showcase it visually. You don't really have to necessarily have crazy amounts of maybe you do want to have crazy amounts of pictures, because maybe the investor wants to see everything about this property without having to actually go there and see it in person. They might want to make an offer without even going there. I see so many investment properties where it just has a picture of the outside and that's it. But I mean, if you're an investor looking at that, you want to see what that looks like in there. And a lot of investors are lazy. They don't want to drive out there. That's why they're an investor. They don't like to work, so they invest money instead. And that's not true with all investors, but that's a general kind of thought process you're going to see with them. So they might want to see this whole property, and they might be willing to make an offer if they like what they see. But if they can't see it, they might just write it off and say, I don't want to waste my time driving out there. Let's see what else we've got on here. So even with investment properties, I would definitely still try to maximize that. And even more so with the retail side of things. When you're dealing with actual retail buyers and sellers, they want to see the nice features of a home. If it's got beautiful faucets, that's one thing they want to see. If it's got skylights, they'll want to see that. And the camera on your phone is probably not the best way to showcase that. I don't care how good they make the iPhone camera. If you get a professional photographer in there, maybe pay them $50, $100, $200 to come out there and take some pictures for you, maybe even a little bit more to shoot you kind of touring the property as a video, that's going to be worth so much more than just the little crappy pictures you're taking on your phone that are overexposed or underexposed that look like it's just some like nightmare property. It'll look a lot better if you do have a professional in there taking the pictures. And when you're advertising digitally like this, that's definitely a prerequisite. You want to have the good pictures of the property, because that's one of the first things they're going to look at before they look at anything else. If they don't like the pictures they see, and it could just be because it's dim lighting or you did something that an amateur photographer would typically do. You're a professional real estate agent, not a professional photographer. You might be one and the same there, but you got to really kind of pick which one it is that you're going to be on and which one it is that you're going to really own. If you're not a professional photographer, don't try to be a professional photographer. Go pay $50, $100, $200 to have a professional photographer come in, get all these high quality images and pictures, so that way people will see this. And now you want to use these same pictures not only in the digital ads, but also in your postcards. I definitely still recommend doing mailings as well, especially if you're targeting a specific geographic area in Facebook or any of your digital marketing ads. You definitely want to target in your print advertising as well, whether that be postcards, whether that be letters. The postcards are great because, number one, you get a super cheap rate for postcards for the post office. They give a huge discount to postcards. So definitely that's one thing to keep in mind. Whether you're doing a bulk mail or not, you can usually get a big discount doing postcard mailing. So that's one thing there. But what's nice about the postcard is because a lot of times with junk mail, people are just throwing it out. But if they see a great big high gloss picture of a property, they might take a second to look at it and then maybe flip it over if they like what they see. That's the key thing. You want them to flip it over where they're looking on the back, but you got to keep it simple on the back. For more details, go to blah 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 blah.com. Something along those lines. Or for more details, call blah 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 blah. Great deal, will not last. For more details, call your phone number. You put that in there when you flip it over. You don't want to give them too much information because, again, you still got to try to reel them in. If you put the bait on the hook too loosely, you're like, okay, here, fish, come on, take all of it. Get all the information you need, potential buyer. They're not going to call you if they say, oh, you know what, this home has 3 bedrooms, really need 4 bedrooms, this isn't for us, and they'll throw out your advertisement. But if they don't know how many bedrooms it has in your advertisement, they're maybe looking at that and they're saying, this looks like it could be a nice property, let me call it up. And then you start, when they're on the phone with you, you don't want to just jump to, it's got 4 bedrooms, that's not for you, hang up on them. No, you want to kind of draw the information out of them. Okay, what are you looking for? And if they're calling about a specific property, which property was it that you were calling about? I've sent out so many postcards. And you're like, what if I only sent out 1 postcard? I don't want to lie to them. Well, okay, if you don't want to lie to them, that's fine. I don't recommend lying. I'm all about being genuine and honest. And I don't recommend lying. But now what do you have to do so you don't lie? Send out a bunch of postcards. Have a bunch of listings. So you get sent out a bunch of postcards about bunches of different properties. And when somebody calls in, you could genuinely say, which property you're talking about. I send out a lot of postcards. I have a lot of listings available. Which one are you talking about in particular? And you kind of start to describe it, and they're like, okay. And even if they don't know the details, they'll start kind of maybe throwing in some of their stuff in there that they were looking for. I think it's 4 bedrooms. I think it's like 3 bedrooms, and you're getting all this information from them because you gave them this nice looking advertisement that elicited some sort of response. So you definitely want to, like I said, try to limit what it is that you're doing, what you're putting in there. Definitely have a phenomenal picture. Have a picture that really makes people stop and say, whoa. Even at the very least, if they're just like, wow, look at this house. You want your postcard to be something that you could frame and put on the wall. That's that beautiful that you'd stick it on the wall, you'd frame it, and you could look at it and say, wow, yeah, that's a nice picture. That's what you want to do, because that's what's going to stop people when they're flipping through their junk mail. They see that and they're like, wow, look at this. If you've got some sort of crappy picture that's grainy and it's a cloudy day and the lawn's all like tore up and it looks nasty or something like that, that's probably not your best property to kind of go the strategy with here. But with that, you get a nice property, you definitely want to showcase these features. And it doesn't even matter so much if it's a McMansion type of property, a great big huge property, and you want to advertise to people that maybe aren't, maybe you do want to, in addition to advertise, maybe for whatever reason you want to advertise the luxury homes and you want to maybe curtail this down a little bit, maybe like the $250,000 range or $200,000 range. Just take little particular aspects. You don't have to advertise the front of the property on your postcard. You could take a beautiful picture of maybe the interior of a property or the pool or the garage or some, whatever the standout feature or quality of that property is. When you send out that mailing or when you're doing digital advertising, that big picture that pops up in your Facebook feed or on Twitter, wherever it is that you're doing the advertising for, that's got to be something that really captures them and grabs their attention with that. So you definitely want to make sure that you invest highly in the photography with this, because that's going to definitely make you look like a professional. If people see, wow, look how good this house looks, this realtor's really good, they're going to contribute that to you, that the property looks that good. And really it is your fault because you're the one that hired the photographer to come out there and photograph the property. So it's going to help you double in the sale. It's going to make you look really good with your client. And now what's great about this is this will also help you generate more business. It'll help you generate referrals as well, because your client's going to be so happy with you for everything it is that you did. When they see you're doing the advertising, even if this doesn't require any of your time, maybe you have all your advertising outsourced, but you're still doing the advertising, you're going to look phenomenal to your client because they're going to see this. And you know what's great? When you do this advertising, make sure you send all the advertising. Make sure your client is seeing all the advertising that you're doing. Send them a weekly update on the advertising it is that you're doing. Send them a report of how much statistics, how many people are looking at this property, how many people are seeing the digital ads, and keep doing that and showing them everything it is that you're doing. You're going to look like a rock star to your clients. Even if this is all automated, you're not spending any time doing this, when you show that to them, they're going to be like, wow, I didn't think anyone would do this for us, that they would put this much work into advertising it and marketing the property. Whenever you're sending out postcards, make sure their address gets one of these postcards. And this is ultimately making it look good on you. So they see all the advertising that you're doing, because if you send out postcards to everybody but them and you do that 10 times, they might, unless you tell them, they might not even know that you sent out postcards. And even if you did tell them they didn't get any postcards themselves, they might just be like, oh yeah, sure, you sent out 10 postcards. Really? You sent out 10 postcards? Why is the house not sold then? But if they're getting all these postcards, if they're getting these letters, if they're seeing the digital ads as well, they're going to be like, oh wow, look at this. You look at all the marketing he's doing. Yeah. And even if the property isn't sold yet, they'll maybe be willing to sign a listing extension with you, or maybe be a little bit more willing to drop the price. When they see that you're doing everything you can to get the property out there into the general public, they're going to say, okay, yeah, you've been doing everything you can to market this and we're still not getting any offers. Yeah, I guess we should lower the price. It's going to make that conversation a whole lot easier when you're marketing the property, because the marketing turns into a sale. It makes perfect sense. That's the reason why they're hiring you in the first place, to market their property to get it sold. So that's a huge part of the listing process. But hey, don't just take it for marketing the property. You're also marketing your properties, your emphasis on your team's properties, your brokerage's properties you're marketing when you go out there and sending out these advertisements. Because yes, maybe this will be somebody that wants to buy that particular property, but maybe it's just somebody saying, oh wow, they send out a lot of postcards. They send out a lot of stuff for this particular brokerage, for this particular real estate team, for this particular realtor, and they're going to see those and be like, oh, Yeah, definitely. This person is busy. When they see you're being busy, they're like, okay, yeah, this is somebody I want to use to sell my house because they're busy. They know what they're doing. So we'll talk a little bit more about the referral side of this and how to build up the referrals, because that's definitely huge, and how to make sure we're staying in touch with past clients with this with Market Our Listing. So stay with us. You're watching State of Real Estate.
When you look back on your real estate career, you'll remember the moment you decided to begin this journey. The moment when you finally decided it was time for change. The moment when you decided it was time to take charge. The moment that changed the direction of your life forever. Now is that moment. Need help preparing for your exam? We've got you covered. Join us for a structured weekend review class where we'll cover the topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams. Class sizes are limited, so reserve your seat now by calling 813-928-0106 or registering online at tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Have you been thinking about starting a real estate career but are struggling to find the time to go back to school? Allow us to introduce our revolutionary online course platform. At the Tampa School of Real Estate, we have used our years of education experience and student feedback to bring you the finest and best online course. Visit tampaschoolofrealestate.com. That's tampaschoolofrealestate.com, or call us at 813-928-0106. That's 813-928-0106 to learn more and register for our online course today. After the show, be sure to visit tampaschoolofrealestate.com. Again, that's tampaschoolofrealestate.com, where you'll find all the information you need to start your career in real estate. Also, be sure to check out our Success Center, where you'll find helpful tips for building a successful real estate career.
Hey, if you like the show today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and post your comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, welcome back to State of Real Estate. Every Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, we come to you to help you grow, mastermind, enhance your real estate business. And now, special bonus for all you guys that are still here in the wee hours of the wee minutes of the episode here, because we got about 5-6 minutes left here to talk about a few more things. And I want to kind of cram in here about past clients. And now, if you're brand new in real estate, maybe you don't have any past clients yet. Maybe you have a client base, however. Maybe you have people that you've talked with before, but maybe you never did business with. You maybe showed them a couple of properties and something got caught up. Maybe they get approved for financing and it didn't go any from there. You don't want to completely just abandon everything it is that you've built up with that person, especially with your past clients. For your past clients, you want to still advertise and market to them for all these properties it is that you have, because that will help them keep your name in mind. And yes, especially if they're on the retail side, they're probably not going to buy another home for another 5 to 7 years, according to the National Association of Realtors handy-dandy statistics. So in 5 to 7 years, yeah, it'll be more business. But now what's the point of staying in touch with them up until then? Well, number one, so they remember you in 5 to 7 years. Because how many people that you've done business with that you haven't talked to in 5 years do you still remember? You might remember them if you think hard enough, but chances are you won't remember them. So that's number one. You definitely want to stay in contact with them so when they are ready to make another sale, they know who you are. But now leading up to that, again, our bonus with this here is the referrals. So when we're marketing to past clients for all these properties just listed, just sold, they're going to look at you like, oh, wow, John, you look like you're doing great. I see all these properties. We get all your postcards that you've been sending us. You know, I was telling my friend over here about how great you were and how well you marketed the property. You know, you're the master marketer, and nobody markets their properties better than you. And, you know, I told them that because they were thinking about selling that they have to use you. Oh, you heard from her. Oh, good, yeah. And so this really helps build your referral base. You don't want to abandon your past clients. You don't stop marketing to them just because you already sold them a property. You continue to market to them. So when I was telling you that you want to send all your marketings back to your client, when all your postcards, you want to sell, you're marketing a property and you're marketing the sending out postcards, you want to send those same postcards to the person selling the property. Why would you say? They're obviously not going to buy the property, but number one, you want them to see that you're out there advertising the property. Makes your job a lot easier because it looks like you're doing everything you can for them. But you don't stop sending them that postcards. Even after the property's sold, you continue to send them your other postcards, send them your other marketing stuff, and also work into that other follow-up stuff like birthday cards, Christmas cards, holiday cards, whatever it is that you're sending out to them. But definitely still send them stuff that shows that you're busy, that you're active, because then they're going to be telling their friends and family about it. And then one day they're going to be ready to sell their house again, and then you got the repeat business. So this really kind of branches off into more and more business. And you can see here, I mean, yeah, part of real estate it's kind of a waiting game because you're not going to get to that level where you have past clients just referring you out every which way. But now the question is not if you have to wait, because yes, you're definitely going to have to wait to a certain extent, but it's how long you're going to have to wait. Because the more and more that you invest, the more time, the more money, the more effort you invest in your real estate business, the faster, if you're doing everything right, the faster you're going to get to that point where you have your past clients spreading your name for you. And that's free. Yes, it's going to cost you some money to continue to market to them so they continue to remember your name, but that word of mouth advertising, that's worth its weight in gold. Probably not the best expression, since it does not weigh anything for their words that they're saying. It's just gas, hot air that they're releasing. So no, that doesn't really weigh anything, but it's worth a lot for everything it is that they're doing when they're telling their friends and family about you. You want them to be your fans. That's really what you want to build. Is you want to build a fan base of people that love you, that love your services, that wouldn't use anybody but you. Because when you have that perception with your clients, whether they're a past client that you actually sold their property or helped them buy a property, or maybe it's somebody you were working with before that weren't able to get approved for a loan, or maybe decided they weren't ready to buy, or whatever reason it is you didn't do a deal with them, you still want to market to them, because even if they don't end up ever buying a home themselves, maybe they're decided they're just going to be lifelong renters forever and they're dead set on that and there's nothing you can do to change that, that's fine. And most agents would kind of get discouraged with this and say, oh, what do I want to market to them for? They don't even want to buy a property. They said they'll never buy a property. Don't waste their time. Maybe they had bankruptcy or whatever that prevents them from buying a property for so many years. Still market to them, because guess what? They still have friends. They still have family. And just because they're renting doesn't mean their friends and family won't be talking about maybe buying a house or maybe selling their house. Maybe they're like, yeah, we really wanted to buy. We had a great agent. He does so much, but she does so much, but we just couldn't get approved because we had that bankruptcy or we had that foreclosure, and he said we got to wait a couple more years. But give him a call because he's great. You could be our guinea pigs. You could test him out. No, we're sure he's really good or she's really good or whatever it is. So don't abandon your clients, because these relationships you start building up, the more relationships you could have with more people. And when I say relationship, you're maybe thinking, oh, that's going to take a lot of time. That's going to take a lot of my time to have relationships with everybody. I didn't have enough time for my own friends, let alone to all these customers that you're trying to get me to spend time with. I'm not telling you to spend time with them. I'm telling you to mail them postcards. I'm telling you to make sure that they're seeing your online advertisements. I'm telling you to make sure you're sending them email that you're sending out. Maybe you're going around your touring properties and you're showing them. People like to watch properties. There's shows on TVs. HGTV is a whole channel dedicated to real estate shows. So people are interested with this stuff. You just got to get yourself out there and show that you're doing business, because the number one enemy is when people don't know you're in real estate. Maybe they knew you're in real estate, but they forgot because you weren't doing your job of marketing to them. And that's all I got for you guys today. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of State of Real Estate. Remember to tune in next week, Friday at 12 noon. We're going to have another great episode for you guys next Friday, again, 12 noon Eastern Time. You can get reminders for all these shows if you go to tampaschoolofrealestate.com/success. That's tampaschoolofrealestate.com/success. Or if you're on Facebook, just like the page and it'll send you all the notifications. If you're on YouTube watching this, hit the subscribe button. You'll get notifications for this. We do these shows every Friday. They're completely free to you, and I'm sure you're able to take away a lot of things from today about ways to kind of enhance your marketing strategy on listings, and we'll have another great episode for you next week. So until then,